Hi there, Kira here. Thanks for joining me on my channel. Today we're going to look at the beautiful King of Wands. So this is the last of the court cards in the Wands series, so I hope you found the others useful. Now, what can we say about this fabulous king? Well, so first of all, of course, it's the Wands energy. So we know it's about fire and passion and energy and drive and enthusiasm and confidence. Okay, so all the things that you can think of about the Wands. Okay, and what does that maybe mean? So what does the fire element mean in your life? Or what might the fire element be meaning when you draw it in a reading or you have it drawn for you in a reading? Okay, so you want to, as I've talked about before, when you look at any of the cards in a spread, look at the imagery. So here we have this image. It is of a male. It's in all of the tarot, though. It's not about being a man or a woman. It's about male energy principles, okay, which is what the, fire is about. It's when we're in that fiery, creative, drive mode, we're bringing about our masculine energy, okay, versus when we're in a feminine state, we tend to be more intuitive and thoughtful, and it's about water, so it's all the things to do with the water. Okay. But it's not black and white, remember. We always have a combination of it all. The other thing about court cards, which people often get confused about, is that, remember, court cards are a characteristic. They're not a specific person. So it's not like a person is, the Knight of Wands, or the person is sort of a King of Wands. It's about there's a characteristic or a personality trait that represents that energy. So when the court cards come up, so for example in this king, you are being thoughtful around what characteristic is influencing the subject, so the particular situation, the question, the subject, or the person's life that you're reading for, or is it about you, the self, something about you and this particular situation and a particular characteristic that needs to come to the foreground or is in the foreground related to the situation, and then what does that mean? So you'll notice in this that it's very orange representing fire, and that's an important thing within this, because this king is representing pure fire energy. So the kings, remember, are about responsibility. They are about social elements, so they're about social responsibility. But they're also about success. So in this essence, it's the success of the Wands element, the fire element. So you're kind of being mindful of that as well. So when you look at this, you'll know some of the characteristics of this is the King of Wands is a natural born leader. They're very confident. They're very forceful and willful. They are creative and often extremely inventive. So I speak of it in terms of saying, as though it's a person, but remember it's about the person's characteristic, their personality or a personality trait. But I'm still gonna, because it's just easier that way, okay, in terms of how to describe it. So in that sense, then the king looks forward to a challenge. He likes to inspire others. He likes to be in charge. He likes to build something and create bonds. Within, to do with his drive and his belief and his dominance around creative energy and personal power. So in that essence, the king believes his way's right. So that can create a bit of a tricky or pickle situation, you know. Sometimes, you know, so therefore it doesn't lie because he doesn't need to lie, because he just truly believes that his way is the right way. So that's that characteristic, is this is the right way. Now, in some situations that can be great, but in other situations that can be a bit of a problem if somebody is wanting to present a very different viewpoint or a different way of looking at it. King cannot be, sometimes isn't very open to that, you know, because he doesn't really get it. He doesn't have any reference point. So it's that characteristic of doesn't having any reference point or any understanding of another way, because it's so 100% that the belief that his way is the right way. So, therefore, the person might come across as a bit of a dictator, might come across as not willing to look at a different side of the viewpoint, or not willing to look at other details. Might be a bit reckless then. Can be a fantastic inventor. Can be very inspirational, thinking of something just completely out of the box that you haven't thought of, or that the group hasn't thought of, or the situation or the project, because the king looks at it from, it's almost like with single focus, this one view, this one lens, this fire lens, and just believes it, really honestly and truly believes it. So there's vision here, so it's a visionary, and so there's definite intent, and it's definitely long-term view. There's definitely a focus on social responsibility, because all the kings care about social responsibility and success and this king, creativity. That's their role. That's just think about the traditional king, the image of a king and what the king would do. They're responsible for their realm. They feel this tremendous sense of everyone who lives within their realm is someone that they need to govern and therefore control or dominate or guide and so forth. Okay. But the king can be very adventurous, can be very playful, can be a genius, an absolute genius of an idea. Definitely will succeed. It's definitely dynamic and self-expressive and confident, you know, and that can be wonderful. Sometimes the king can get into things like gambling, because it gets overly confident. So that's where the overly confident comes in. So sometimes you might find that this person who just gets caught up into the whole gambling scenario, because they, you know, and that can be one of the tricky things about this energy, as well as I said, being a dictator or lacking an ability to compromise or look at another viewpoint or to really negotiate another side of the equation or to find that middle ground or and so forth. But remember, it's a characteristic, and we aren't just one characteristic, and so we often bring different traits into a situation. So at the same time, you know, a person with this king characteristic, whether it be you or another person, may also have, you know, the cup of the King of Cups energy as well within them, and are able to move between the two, particularly if they really have mastered, because there's the potential for tremendous mastery when you see the king arriving in a reading. As I said, they're naturally honest, and so they're reliable, they're genuine from their point of view. That's really the key. You have to know and decide for yourself, is their point of view part of what fits within your values, your beliefs? So sometimes I notice this card might appear maybe next to, say, or an indication that the person needs to look at what part of that characteristic of personality, that belief, that value, that belief, is that theirs, or is that belonging to somebody else, or is that part of their conditioning? And therefore, so it can, you know, it can give you highlight for someone many things like that. It can highlight an opportunity, a drive, an invention, you know, so someone might get this in a business reading, oh, great, you know, and they've got this new idea they want to pursue. But someone else might come to me and say, that, you know, this is what comes up, and we're asking a little bit about they wanting to move somewhere or go to a different school or change jobs or career, and their family is, or everyone's telling them not to do it, you know, their loved ones, their father, their others in their life, and this is what comes up. So these can be some of the things that's how you can use the tarot to work through looking at situations, or what person might feel of as a problem, or how best can I go about X, Y, and Z. So there's fun here though, you know, so this king is about fun, you know, wants to see the world as a warrior, an entrepreneur, fearlessness, you know, but with the big ego, you know, doesn't really worry about what other people think, because it doesn't have any reference point to really how other people think. Unlike the queen, who is very aware of others. Okay, so when this energy is around you, when you're bringing it forward in yourself or within someone else, there's lots of fun to be around. The change that you want is the change that will come about if it's in alignment with what's, depending on where it falls in the spread. So, you know, it's reminding you, stay focused on your goals, stay focused on your long-term goals, because when the king's around, it is about the long term. It's not about the short term, it's about the long term. You might also find that you feel very positive, very optimistic. You might feel very strong in yourself, and therefore strong about this new invention or this new idea. Fantastic, you know. You want to look for that, because this is Leo energy. So those of you who do astrology, you know, it's that Leo. It's that Leo energy. It's that bright, shining sun of the beautiful Leo, that and the light, the lion that wants to come forward. And you'll see all of that. Oh, the other thing about the imagery here I always pay attention to for myself is that note that the king is looking directly at this wand, you know, real single focus of this flowering, blossoming wand. And it's holding, you know, and doesn't need to focus or look anywhere else. And is very there in that moment, and has this drive and this fire, as I've said, that says that this is it. This is what's blooming. This is what I'm going to make happen. And when this king comes about, this will happen for the situation, or it highlights that this is the direction it's going in. You know, I always like to note the strong imagery of the salamander, which is on the robes here, and, you know, and so forth. As well as, you know, that, you know, the salamander represents the infinity of the situation, you know, as well as the drive to basically just get through all obstacles. So the energy of this can just bulldoze the obstacles into the direction of this energy, that the energy wants to go. Because it's the purity, it's the pure creativity, it's the pure energy that you will find. You know, so that's where the natural born leader will come from. The blossoming wand really identifies that tremendous creativity and that passion that comes with that about this particular thing that has been identified, or the situation, as I said, that's been identified, that you're working on when this card comes up. So you can, one of the mottos about this king though is, my ray is the white ray. And I can do it, therefore you can do it. And, you know, the question is, that can be great. That can be really uplifting. Wow, great. You know, that belief. Okay, great. Yes, I can do it, because, you know, so that can have pros and cons to it, as you can imagine. I always think of, like, for example, if the king showed up with the fool, you know, the king is about the drive of the responsibility and the social position. Well, because they're both very action-oriented cards, aren't they? You know, when you think about this lovely fool, very action-oriented as well. But the king has responsibility, and the fool is just pure. It's just pure instinct and freedom. So here's the pure freedom and here's the pure responsibility. Both very creative, both driven, both dynamic. Because, you know, the Fool here is holding on to a wand as well, very much that wand's energy. But there's a real different essence to it, because one is just free and the other one is driven from responsibility, and the importance of that responsibility brings a sense of wanting to make things happen their way, because they honestly believe their way is the right way, and therefore that can be quite domineering or dominant. You won't get that with the Fool. You know, the Fool is just like, you know, that free spirit, you know, off with the free spirit. So, you know, this playfulness and the adventurousness and the ingenuineness, the being a genius, and honesty and vision, and you know, it can be fantastic. It can be wonderful. I love getting this card when I'm asking a question about business, because it really does mean that, you know, I can make things happen. And for myself, or, you know, I draw it for my clients. You know, and it's very powerful, and it's about an opportunity, and it is about that opportunity and the power that is around to be able to implement it. Because it's, you know, implementing these actions that someone wants to do, and not just implementing them, having the ability and the energy to maintain them, and to build the relationships and the friendships or the connections that that is needed for that to happen. And drawing people to you. You know, you really, if a person who's a King of Wands is in the same sort of tribe as you and is doing what you want to do, and they can be really uplifting and really inspiring. So that part of their personality is what draws others to them. You know, and because they are that entrepreneur, they are that warrior, they are fearless, and they just have such a strong belief, and we all see it come out. You know, I definitely myself with this doing videos for you, sometimes I feel my King of Wands, I feel really confident and I know what I want to say, and other times, you know, my Page of Cups might come out, and I'm, you know, and I feel my brain just goes blank, and, you know, and all the things I want to say don't really flow through my head, and then I get lots of comments from people saying, you know, why didn't you talk about this and why didn't you talk about that? And there is only so much time on a video, and sometimes too it's just that I'm not in that space. That's not what I'm channeling. It just doesn't happen, and I just have to believe that the video I put out and what I do say, for whatever reason, at the moment was what was needed, and hopefully helped someone or is a benefit to someone, and just let it go. Because otherwise these videos can become quite challenging, and you know, you kind of read all the comments and you think, oh really, okay, I should have done that, and I wished I'd done this and I would have, and you know, but you know, we all just have mental blanks. Because when I'm reading for someone, you know, I really connect with that person, and my energy really draws upon where they're at, because I read for them. Which is very different than reading for myself. And so I'm with where they're at. And sometimes people need to hear this, but they're not ready for that, or they wanting this, but they're not wanting that. And the reading is for them. So I give them what they want. Also, I'm connecting with my higher guides and with their guides to bring forward messages, and sometimes the messages just go in a particular direction, and this is what the person really needs, because this is where they're at, and this is what will help them, and this is what will give them the breakthrough. This will answer what they're asking, because that's what a reading is for. You know, if you go have a reading, and somebody doesn't focus on you as this is for you. They focus on them and all the things they want to say, because they're really, you know, intellectually really, you know, astute, and they've got, you know, lovely, and they just babble off about all these stuff that just works, is everything they want to tell you, everything that they know, everything about, you know, a tarot card or whatever. That's not focusing on you. You're not the point of attention then. And I do honestly believe that that's an important thing to look for in a reader. The reading is about the person. If you're giving a reading for someone else, it's not about you. You've got to put your own stuff out the door and read for them and channel through for them and look for insight, and then trust that what jumps off the card, the imagery that leaps out at you, is really important for them. which is why before I do a reading, I spend, you know, anywhere from an hour or so really tuning in and spending time preparing for it, because to me it's a great gift. It's an honor and it's a gift to be able to read for someone, and it's important that I'm in the right place and that I can really give them everything I've got in that moment. And so when I do these videos, I know there's lots of you out there, and I try and connect with you, and I definitely try and give a broad spectrum of what I offer with this card and all the cards that I do. But there's a limit. There's a limit to what I can in the moment. There's a limit to how long I want to make the video, or how long you want me to make the video, and all of that. So please understand that, and I appreciate some of you have some brilliant insights and fantastic intuitive knowing and knowledge and intellectual knowledge about this card and all my cards. Please write in the comments your wisdom, your insights, share that with me and for everyone who comes to my channel, because then you are sharing your knowledge. Or make a video and tell us that you have made a video where you've added more the additional knowledge about all the imagery and what the salamander really means and all the various bits on the crown. And I could get into that, but it's just too much. So I hope you find this King of Wands video useful. I hope you can see how, you know, all of the cards, no matter what you draw, is important. And they all tell you something. Which way are they facing? Who are they connected with? Where are they falling? How does it address the question or the situation, or relate to the person? And how can that, you know, what position it is in the spread, and how can that help? How can that feed and fuel and give input for this reading that you're doing, whether it be yourself or whatever? And yeah, I you know, that is what the tarot is about. It's wonderful. It's all about energy and flow and information, and seeing where are the obstacles and what's supporting me, what can I build on, what do I need to, you know, work on, where's the insight, you know, etc, etc, etc. So hope you found that useful. If you'd like to catch up with me, have a reading, you can book a reading, and my booking program does it in your time zone. And, you know, it'll feed you through how to do it, and the process of payment and all that kind of gizmo. Or, you know, if you need to ask any questions, first of all, just send me a message on the contact sheet. You can look at that on my website. It'll go straight to my booking program. All of that will be in the blurb below. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll be on to the last element next. Okay, cheers, bye.